Hello and welcome back to another episode of Your Property Podcast. My name is Michelle Cairns and today we've got with us Oliver James. So I'm just going to do a quick introduction before we bring him in. Oliver James is the founder of Property Branding and brings a wealth of experience and unique blend of expertise both as a marketer and property investor. With over 8 years in property development, he understands the challenges and nuances of the industry. Oliver's dual perspective ensures that he knows exactly how to position his clients correctly to become investable, stand out from the crowd, and ultimately achieve their growth objectives and effective marketing solution as a powerful brand. So, Oliver, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, really happy to be here.
Yeah, and it's amazing to be in. Of course, we've connected through the Property and Entrepreneur Summit that you're going to be speaking on as well. So that's really exciting. Can't wait to see you on stage for that as well.
Thanks. Yeah, look forward to that. It's going to be a big turnout, which is going to be exciting. I think it's going to be one of the standout events of the year.
Absolutely. So this is, I guess, a taster because this will go out. I'm not sure when it's going to go out yet, but it'll go out before the event, so people can get a taster for, feel for what you do and about your background and how you can help people. So let's dive in with how you can help people, because there's a lot of people talking about branding out there, but not so many people talking about property branding. And I think what you've done, which is what I like, is really niche down, and you cover lots of different aspects of branding which we can get into today, but you have niched into branding for property development specifically. So let's just jump in there. Why specifically developments, and how has branding helped you and what you helped your customers?
Yeah, of course. And I think the interesting thing that I'm seeing a lot in the property industry now is that you're right, the term branding is used a lot more now than it was before, which is obviously fantastic for us. But I think there's still some sort of misunderstanding in terms of the word branding. The term personal branding, I think, is used heavily because, we're all on social media. We're all trying to put ourselves out there as the person behind the business, which is fantastic. However, that's one type of brand or type of branding. And actually, there is 3 types of branding. So there's the personal brand that we've just spoken about now. There's a business brand, which is obviously the vehicle that, a potential investor will be investing in, or your key stock stakeholders will be working with. So that's the second brand. And the third type of branding is a product brand. And when we combine all 3 together, we create an ecosystem that really strengthens everything that we're doing, from our marketing approach through to the delivery and what it is that we're actually doing, through to the relationships that we can create with all our stakeholders as well. And the analogy I like to just help to give that bit of context is Apple. So if you think about it, Apple is the business brand, quite clear. You've got Steve Jobs as the personal brand, and he obviously was very well known for, his ideation, coming up with different ideas and looking at inspiration and turning that into a way that's very intuitive, and his products were just simple and easy to use, right down to, how he dressed himself and how he spoke and all these different attributes that was adding up to his personal brand. But the key thing behind that is his mission and what it is that he was looking to achieve. So people were drawn to that in terms of his personal branding. And then on the product side, you obviously have the iMac, the iPhone and so on, which was the end piece the consumer would buy. And when you combine all 3 together, that has obviously helped Apple to really strengthen and have a loyal follower base. Advocacy of people that are now just loyal fans that are going to be buying Apple products every single year. So how we relate this into the property world is the main thing that really fascinates me, and that's really helps to generate a lot of success and results for our clients. And when done well, as I say, it really does make a huge impact. So the personal branding side of things, I think, is talked about a lot, which is brilliant. But there's also 2 of the brands that need to be thought about and considered. And again, relating that back to property, the key thing that I think maybe is the most unknown is the product brand, which for developers is obviously their scheme, is their 20-unit development that they're producing, delivering high quality luxury home, whatever that may be. Or it could be of a HMO investor. Ideally they want to have a product which they're delivering to the market. Same with SA, even same for HMO, for buy-to-lets, and obviously for courses and various mentorship programs. That's a product as well. So Yeah, that's branding almost in a nutshell.
I've not heard anybody explain it that way before, and it makes perfect sense. And I love the analogy with Apple and Steve Jobs. That makes it really clear. And I think you're right. You know, a lot of people do talk about this personal branding, and really, for people who are listening, they probably just think, oh yeah, okay, I know I need to get on social media and have my logo, my colours, and maybe a Canva tile. Like that's as far as it goes. But I like the what you're talking about here about actually. It's not just about the company brand, which is the next thing people think about, but actually the product as well. So it's, I should say, one of these things that's really overlooked. And you get to the end of a project and you're so kind of exhausted. You spent all your money and you're like, right, let's just get it out there. And whether that's a HMO and you put it on spare room, or whether that's a development project. And for people who are like mid-range, they're thinking, oh, well, you know, I might not want to spend that money on that final piece, but actually that's the thing that's going to sell, right? Because you know, it's at the end of the day, it's going to go on a website, and when people look on a website, that image, that brand has to sell the property before the person even gets to the agent. So yeah.
It does actually amaze me quite a lot where, developers will spend a huge amount of time and money and effort finding a good opportunity. There might be land, it could be a commercial building. So sourcing an opportunity is incredibly hard. Negotiating that is obviously difficult. Doing the full deal appraisal is tough. Then finding and getting funding for the development, going through the whole construction phase. There's an incredible amount of work there, a huge amount of risk. And then at the end, just giving to an agent to try and just flog it.
Yeah.
Which in my opinion is a very risky thing to do, and at the very end as well is when the most expensive finance is. So if you think about it logically, the exit is where most of the money is really made. Obviously you make the money on the purchase, but if you're keeping on to these properties because you can't sell them, all of the profits just going to be eroding away. So the branding piece and how buyers will be resonating with that scheme, being brought in, and the desire there, right down to the actual sale perspective as well. We can really give a bit of control back to ourselves in thinking about the marketing and the sales, and ideally, sell them before they've been built, and that we can control. And that's where I think we're seeing a lot more in the market now, which is fantastic. So we're working with a lot of developers on that, and I think it's the only way now that developments will stand out. And yeah, it's incredibly important.
Yeah, I mean, let's say in the last 5 or so years, really the only option people have had is, super expensive CGIs. You're talking hundreds of pounds for one picture. And now with everything that's happened with AI, there's a lot of changes. But I think, can you just dive into it? Like, it's not, yes, you do need the CGI if you're doing a big development and if you want to sell it before it's ready. So you need to be able to, for people to visualize what it's going to look like. But what else is involved in that branding package in order to sell and really get the most money for the property?
So it's really about, I guess, telling a story, painting a picture where they can visualize themselves living there. It's not just about, I've got a nice Bosch oven and, it's LVT flooring. They're like, there's details that are really sort of just an element of the spec. What buyers really are drawn into is, as I say again, the lifestyle of actually being there, and is it a safe and great place to bring up a family? What are the local amenities nearby? Can I really feel comfortable in this option, which is this, let's just say, a 3-bedroom house, rather than an existing 3-bedroom house that is in the same area? We want to make sure that that's then really, as I said, resonating with that prospective buyer, and then bring on an emotional buying decision of, I need this property. Getting very connected to it. And that's where the branding piece really comes into its own, because we can then very much tailor that to the prospective buyer, because we know who's going to be aimed at. Going to say, oh, I'm going to build a 3-bedroom house and just think it's open to everyone. Every good developer will know who it's aimed at. That could be guided from a local agent, or just know the area and who it's going to be aimed at. So then we can very much shape the whole image of that property and how it can then also complement the interior design. We can then work on the messaging and the marketing side of things, and how that could be brought into the sales brochure. We don't want just standard agent template that is then used for all of the other developments, because then nothing's going to stand out. That's all going to blend in. So we want to make sure that that's, again, painting a very good picture. The hoarding outside the developments, it's people are going to be driving past that site for a year or a year and a half, So building up those sort of subconscious touch points and brand awareness is key. And on there, we want to have a way to go onto the microsite. So again, it's then a way to see more information, maybe inquire about it or request a brochure download, see some of the CGI walkthroughs, and then again, picture how people are going to be going from the kitchen through to the living area, what it's going to look like, any standout features there, and right down even to actual paid campaigns. So we can then very much target those prospective types of buyers and bring those leads in for a selling agent to close them. And that is all down from the branding piece at the very start. None of that can really be delivered or constructed if we haven't done the branding thing at the start. So the brand strategy is very, very important.
And that's where you come in, because I think I completely get everything you've said there. It does, I think, for people who are in that position where they need to sell something, like being able to partner someone like you who, that's the bit that you take care of, right? So it's great to like explain it and people understand why it's needed. But most people, they're not going to be able to give this part of the process the headspace and the thought to come up with all of this. Like they need to work with someone like yourself. Like if it was me, I wouldn't even know where to start. Yeah. I've had a look at your website, and for anyone listening, absolutely go and check it out. It's absolutely incredible.
Thank
The
you.
packs, the brochures, it looks spot on. It looks really, really good. You've obviously seen firsthand the impact that it's made. So it's not just about having, more people come and look at to purchase the property. It's about getting more money out of the deal as well. So can you talk a bit more about the end point of like increasing the GDV by the marketing plan?
Yeah, of course. There is research done from multiple sources, actually. Savills is one. I mean, there's actually there's like 3 or 4 different places that I've seen this research being done. But you can increase the GDV up to 11% through brand, through interior design, through marketing, because you can then conjure up more demand and more desire for this development. And if there's a clever way of fear of missing out, and uh, right down to maybe an open day, and you can see who else is looking at the property, and you're like, I want the property over there. So I'm gonna put a little bit above asking price because I want to secure this. This is absolutely amazing. So you can then again you can secure the site for a lot quicker, but also for more money as well.
I think it's true what you're saying about this element here, about bringing it back into your control, because it's definitely something that most people aren't really doing, and if they are doing it, they're not doing very well. So actually differentiating yourself from other competitors in the market to really maximize
I
those
think
profits.
presentation is key as well, and I think you can relate it again to something else that we're all very common with, or familiar with, which is, let's just say, coffee. You could go to a local coffee shop, depending on where you are in the country, obviously, but you could get a coffee for £2.40 from your local coffee shop. It may be very nice fresh beans, could be a very nice coffee. But if you go to Starbucks and the whole presentation, the brand are there, and they're charging what now? Sort of like 3.90, £4 something. And actually it's a worse coffee. But presentation, I'm not saying a development is going to be worse than something else. What I'm trying to say is that the presentation and people's perceived value in that, you know, is what's helped them to generate more profit.
Yeah, the certainty that they're going to get, because they can see that they've got that professional look, so they're going to get professional service, going to get professional product at the end. And tell me a bit more about yourself and your background. So were you doing developments yourself and then spotted an opportunity, or was it vice versa? You were doing a marketing and then seeing that there was opportunity in development?
I'll go a step back in terms of my career, and I'll try not to go into too much depth here. But so my career was in product design and branding. So I did product design at university, and what's great about that, I guess, subject is that you're always looking for problems, coming up with solutions, and often spotting something that we don't know that we're missing. But we come up with a solution and it then just fixes a lot of things. It's like, obviously, want someone think of that before. And so I love that. And part of that was obviously designing the branding for the products that we're designing, and then thinking about the marketing of how it's going to be seen by consumers or users, and obviously get that how to sell them as well. So my role effectively in my job when I had one was in a product design company where I was very heavily focused on the sort of sales of it, the branding of it, the marketing of it. I loved the job. I was often going out to China and, working on the projects and the products that we were delivering there. It did take a lot of my time. I was often out there for like 3 weeks or so. I'd come back, and then the director says, "No, you need to go back out again." So I'd have to be shipped back out again. I did that for a while, and because I had sort of time on the plane and so on, I was doing some reading, and someone suggested I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I'm sure everyone, or a lot of people have read as well. Amazing book. If you haven't read it, definitely read it. But that just changed my whole sort of perspective. And it was a sort of time as well where my own residential home was coming to a remortgage, and the mortgage broker said, "Do you know what you could do? You could actually, because the market's gone up, you can pull the equity out, you can buy another property with it, and obviously then rent that out and you can get some more money." I was like, "That's amazing. That's what Robert Kiyosaki was also talking about." So I did that, long story short, and it was paying for like holidays and so on. And that's when I became obsessed in the property industry. And that's what it's so powerful. So I spent a fortune on training, education in property, going up in courses and so on. And this is where I then spotted I guess this niche, because what was being taught in the training courses, and I've heard it's still the same now, is just go to Fiverr, get a logo, and post on Facebook. And from everything that I've done and seen, that is just the worst advice. Obviously, it's not the worst, because we've seen it has helped a lot of people. It's a good way to get started. Don't get me wrong, and it is a very, very good way to get started. But it's very limited in how far you can really go. So logo on its own, is just an emblem. It doesn't really do anything. And often, because people are getting cheap logos, they're just templates. So what that then means is that everyone, or pretty much everyone, has the same template logo, which then has a lot of fear of just blending in, not standing out, not being seen as a professional, established, credible property investor or developer. We let's go back to the story. So that's when I realized there's a little bit of a need here, and I can obviously design brands and start helping out some of my friends in property, and their businesses were then just the way that they were being seen by agents for rent-to-rent businesses or other investors just completely transformed. Again, fast forward a little bit, I then got made redundant from my job. I'd already been doing some investments myself, doing small couple developments as well. As we know, property isn't a fast thing. So I knew that I wasn't able to live, completely on the developments and the investments that I had. That's when I realized, actually, why don't I try and help out the property industry? There's a real lack of understanding here. And that's when property branding was set up about 6.5 years ago. And we, I think, have really sort of made a bit of an impact and helped people to see the value in brand and marketing. I'm not saying I've done this single-handedly. I'm not saying that at all. But I do think from a lot of the talks and events that I go and speak at, a lot of the podcasts that I'm very fortunate to come and speak at, I think there's a sort of message I'm trying to put out there of we're running property businesses here, and like all businesses, we need to market properly. That's the only way to really grow and scale. I've developed the agency, Property Branding, now to be a full branded digital marketing agency, offering everything under one roof that our clients need. And as you said, we are quite niche. There isn't really anyone out there at all that is just focused exclusively on the property space. But from my experience and the track record and successes that we've helped our clients get, that's how we're able to generate those results, is because when you're marketing a product, a service, or a business, when you know how to get that out in the right way, you know who the target audience is, you know what is needed to be seen in the right way, and the right strategy, marketing strategy, that's what helps to generate that success. And we're very proud and honoured to work with some amazing clients, and we're also very proud of the success stories that we've helped our clients do as well.
Okay, great. And in terms of the strategies then, so you've obviously gone down this journey of learning it yourself about property investing, but you've ended up with the focusing on the developments. Have you used this for different types of strategies and just thought, okay, this is, I guess, that's the most profitable one? Or is there another kind of reason why you focused on developments?
It's a great question. The answer is we don't just work with developers. And we work with investors, developers, brokers, contractors, even architects. So there's sort of a big macro niche here. Most of our clients are investors and developers. And when first started out the business, we would work with a lot of strategies of rent to rent, service accommodation, and people building up portfolios and so on, which was great. There's a lot of value we can add there. But where we've definitely moved more towards, and especially in the last couple of years, is clients that we can really form partnerships with. And that's one thing that I do love to get the message across to our clients is that, we're not just someone who delivers you, let's say a website and then away you go. We look to try and form partnerships and effectively be their marketing department. A lot of developers, investors, SME developers don't have the same sort of budgets and resources to be able to have their own marketing department in their company like the big boys do. So we're effectively their marketing partner. So when they're working on a new development or if they're looking to raise some investor finance, we're there as a supporting hand. And the point I'm trying to get across here is that our clients would like to work with an ongoing basis, whether that be social media as well or Google ads or whatever it may be. So the sort of rent to rent clients or the service accommodation, we've noticed that we deliver a bunch of things and then we might not hear from them for another couple of years. Mm. So although we love doing that, I guess our clients are more now people that we'd work with constantly.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you mentioned there about people looking to raise private finance. And this is one thing that, most people in property, they do want to raise their profile in order to attract private investment. So talk to me about how you fit in with helping people to raise private finance.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is another area of our real specialism. So as I say, property brand and marketing is our macro niche. Our real micro niche, and we actually have 3 of them, is helping our clients to raise significant finance to fund developments or fund a property portfolio. The second is the whole brand and marketing piece for developments themselves. And the third is to generate a lot of leads for the business. And when you combine again all 3 together, you then got a very powerful business. But as I say, raising investor finance is one that we've generated huge success for, and we've now helped our clients raise over £65 million in investor finance, which is absolutely amazing. And we've noticed that there is a framework to do that. As you said, raise your profile, to look credible, look and build trust. And there's a framework that we've helped our clients to build as well, which enables exactly that. So yeah, there is a sort of area of expertise that we can help our clients to effectively build their businesses up. But then also for developers as well, if you're able to raise £2 million to fund a development and then, get development finance or private investor finance to fund a development, we can then market and sell that for them, which then circles back to then, constantly needing to then raise more debt or equity. So yeah, it works as a bit of an ecosystem there in the business, but raising investor finance is one that I do a lot of talks about, write articles and blog posts about this very subject because I noticed that it's the only way a successful property business can scale, because it's quite a money heavy business. So we all need to raise finance other people's money, and very limited, as I said, if you're just sort of going and getting a template logo and just sort of posting it on Facebook where your investors might not be hanging out, then it's just going to be sort of singing into the wind where it's not going to be heard by anyone.
That makes sense. Tell me, for people who are looking to create a brand and create trust in a world that's now very AI driven, where there's, you're not sure if what you're listening to is real or what you're watching is real. What are your tips for people to cement that trust in their brand?
Well, I think consistency is a very important piece, which I'll dive to in a short while. I think reputation as well is very, very important for building trust. I think social proof is absolutely critical, and that's where, we can really shape our website, our social media, investor pack, because we can then demonstrate what we've delivered in the past as a very strong form of social proof, but also what other people have said about you as well. That really helps to give credibility and sort of lower the trust barrier, because we as humans like to see what other people have said or experienced about something before you. No one likes to be the first.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm pretty certain everyone, when they go onto Amazon, one of the first key things that, you would do is then go read a sort of little bits of detail, but then go straight down to what other people have given feedback on or their reviews on. And also booking holidays, restaurants, you pretty much just look at the testimonials or reviews. And that social proof is so important for us as property investors and developers, because as I say, building trust is so important. Consistency, turning up, doing not just doing one post on social media and then that didn't work. Well, I'll go do something else now. Constantly turning up there and constantly doing the right thing of how you want to be seen in the outer world. Doing things in the right way. I'm a big believer of how you do one thing is how you do everything. So, making sure that you're delivering quality content and delivering it in a way that, again, you can shape people's thoughts, opinions, impressions of you. And that will then shape reputation of how, again, people will be sharing about you or talking about you, etc.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I'm just thinking now about the raising the private finance, because one thing I noticed is that you help people with investor packs. And I mean, at one end of the scale, you've got people posting a WhatsApp group saying, I've got a deal, just DM me. And you're like, okay. And then there are people who do put together, a really nice professional looking PDF, right? It's got a couple of pages and here is it, a bit about them and a bit about the deal, etc. And it looks really nice. And one of your products was like, a physical copy of like a flip book, like a coffee table book, if you like. And I can still remember, I've been to meetings. I remember one particular meeting, like a mastermind group, and the guy bought one of these. He was like a developer and he bought this flip book, and it just got a different feel, hasn't it, having something that's physical, that's professional looking, that you can take to these networking meetings. Really makes you stand out. So would you say people have to get to a certain level? Like, is this only for high-end developers, or is this for people at any level who are looking to, because you mentioned about scaling up, right? So there's a bit in between, isn't there, where people need to do certain things differently in order to attract the investment and scale?
Yeah, that is a great question. There's multiple different things I can answer on that one. So you mentioned about timing wise. We do work with a lot of clients who are leveling up their business. They've got some element of successes in the past, which is brilliant. Now they're really looking to scale up and grow their business. However, we do have a lot of occasions where people are just starting out and they want to, do some great things in their property business, whether they build a, portfolio of 10 people, to 10 properties, in the first year, and then scale on to big commercial conversions. And the question is I need to, or is it right to do it now or in the future? And I'm a big believer in doing things well and doing things right. So if a developer was going out to a high net worth investor and they just got template logo. They've got an investor pack, which is all in one document on a Word document produced on Microsoft Word. And they don't have a website, or they got something that they just, sort of like pulled together. There's going to be a lot of wasted opportunity there, a lot of wasted time, and it's going to be then difficult to land your first investor. So my sort of question back to that is, why not just build these assets now and actually focus on building investors first and then building out a portfolio afterwards, because it's going to be a hell of a lot easier to land investors when they see you as a professional. Imagine someone who's willing to, or has got the funds of, say, let's just say 500k. They've got 500k that they need to deploy into property or they're into an investment, and all of a sudden someone turns up, they're late. They've got a ill-fitted suit on, they smell, and they just don't present themselves in the right way. Straight away, they're like, I don't really want to invest in this person. And then they also, haven't got any decent way to present themselves as a business. That's just going to completely destroy that opportunity. And the reason I mentioned about clothing, because that is, again, down to presentation. We all go to, a networking event or a date and present ourselves in the best way. It's the only way that we really can go through those, form the first impression, and then continue the conversations or the dates on. It's the same with investors. Building the becoming investable to begin with is a very important thing to do first, and it is a bit of a chicken and egg question. I haven't really got the funds to invest in this now. I wait for a few deals. I've had this a lot, especially with sort of rent to rent and service accommodation or sourcing, is I need to sell a few deals to then invest in it.
Mm.
I completely understand that. However, from my experience, you're going to find it difficult to sell those deals without it. Why not invest in it first, and then sell the deals? And then they just otherwise it would kill the business. So I'm hoping that answered the question.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think it's useful I agree. I agree. I think it's something I wish I'd done at the beginning of my journey and I ended up doing later on. But it's something that can really fast track people and give them that, professional feel, the professional look for when they're speaking to investors. I think a lot of people at the early stages and those kind of mid transition stages, they're, really keen to fast track what they're doing because they're getting the deals and they understand they've got the concepts, they've done the learning, they've had the training, but now there's a missing piece. So I think this is certainly one of those missing pieces is being able to put yourself out there to the world, to the investors in a, as you say, investable way, make themselves investable. So yeah, it's I mean we could talk all day about all of these different things. Is there anything else that we haven't mentioned that you think would be useful for people who are, I think, we're going to have people who are developers listening, but also people who are just starting out. So both ends of the spectrum. Any advice?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think firstly is just considering back to what we spoke about at the start is the brand ecosystem. And I think we're part of, in a world now where, it is very heavily brand driven and we're often seen on social media and sort of compared against on social media a lot. Also, a website is something that we can shape and can present ourselves in a way that's there. It's our shop front that is there to talk about us when we're not there to talk about ourselves. Again, personal branding, we may have a great conversation, we might have a really good connection one to one. However, if you're not in a one to one environment, why not invest into your website and use it as an asset that will attract people doing their due diligence on you, but also other people as well, and bring those leads in. It's not, I don't think it's something for everything that we spoke about, the sort of branding, investor pack, website, etc. Isn't a nice to have. It's an asset that is actually a need to have. I think investing into it isn't a cost, it's an investment. Getting the mindset around it is, we're building a business here. We're not just building something that's going to be here for, a year. I mean, ideally, you're going to be building a long, longevity here in the business. So we need to create something that's going to be standing in, a good 10, 15 years, building a legacy here. We're not just sort of looking at the short term.
Yeah.
And the investor pack as well. I think one thing you picked up on was people quite often have just a few pages in a document, which isn't about them, but also a deal. Another key thing we need to focus on is not going against the FCA regulations and giving an opportunity to an investor who we haven't qualified yet, because the FCA are really clamping down now on people doing things illegally. So doing investor pack in the right way, which is a framework that we've built in for our investor packs. If anyone wants to inquire about that, then I'm sure we'll give the contact details at the end. But yeah, doing things in the right way, as I say, make sure you're not getting in trouble with the FCA. Being compliant, I think, is an important thing to learn and to employ into the business as well.
No, we've had so many tips, lots of gems here today, and I think it's been really valuable for people at any stage, whether they're just starting out or experienced developers looking to focus on their brand. So, where can people find out about you? Where's the best place to be?
There's many different places, as I'm sure you could expect from a brand and marketing agency. But a great place to check us out is on our website. It's just propertybranding.co.uk. And then you can see some examples of work. You can also download some resources. There's free resources on there. More specifically, 3 guides that people can read about branding and how to build a powerful brand. A second guide, which is on basically building the framework to raise investor finance. And the third is how to really utilize social media in our business. So there's a resources tab you can download there. If people thought this conversation was interesting, I wanted to see how we could dive into their own businesses and have a strategy session, then on our website, again, there is at the top right, there's a way to book in a strategy call with either me or one of the team. So very much welcome people to do that, but also check us out on social media, property branding. So at property branding, which is the business, or if they wanted to follow me and what I'm up to and some of the talks that I deliver, then my social media is oliverjames.pb.
Fantastic. We'll put all these links in the show notes. It's been fantastic today. Thank you, Oliver. It's been
Thanks, Michelle.
yeah, lots of nuggets for people to go and take away, and lots of actionable things as well for people to go and do. I think that's it for today. Thank you for everyone who's been listening or watching if you're on our YouTube channel. And just a reminder that if you're not yet a member of the YPN Plus community, then click the link in the show notes to join that as well. You can get a free 28-day free trial, and that includes not just the monthly magazine but also our live sessions every Monday that include the deal clinics, coaching, money Monday for the finance and tax session, and our networking events, so jam-packed there as well. And I think that's it. I will put the links in the show notes, Oliver, and we look forward to seeing what happens next with you. And of course, we'll look forward to seeing you at the Property and Entrepreneur Summit in June as well.